Tensions that had been simmering ever since Prince Harry and Meghan Markle announced their controversial departure from the royal family nally reached an anarchic boiling point this week at the 2024 Invictus Games in Berlin. What was supposed to be a unifying celebration of the incredible sacrifices and resilience of wounded military veterans quickly devolved into chaos as over 3,000 former service members simultaneously rained deafening boos and vulgar insults upon the departing Sussexes, demanding they immediately abdicate all involvement with the annual adaptive sports competition Harry founded nearly a decade ago. It was truly one of the most shocking, chilling public scenes of mass vitriol I've ever witnessed in my years covering military affairs, recounted veteran British journalist Nigel Stevenson, who was positioned near the Olympia Stadium's royal friends and family entrance when all hell broke loose. One moment you had this relatively convivial pre-show atmosphere with national delegations mingling about and families eagerly awaiting the opening ceremony's pageantry. The next, it descended into this near-riotous DEF-CON scenario once Harry and Meghan arrived under the distinct impression they'd still be welcomed as honored guests. Apparently severely miscalculating the seething resentments that have only intensified across Commonwealth veteran communities since their unrestrained media hostilities toward the royal family, the former working royals emerged with predictable obliviousness from a tinted SUV under the assumption of returning heroic embrace. But almost immediately upon being spotted by assembling crowds outside the iconic Berlin venue, a thunderous outburst of jeering opprobrium instantly overwhelmed the scene. We're talking about an absolute torrent of deafening boos, hissing, and every astonishing profane insult you could possibly imagine being hurled right in the Sussexes' anguished faces, Stevenson added, still sounding shaken from the incident's sheer intensity. Just one seemingly endless, seismic cacophony calling them every awful name in the book, like traitors, disgraces, backstabbers, usurpers, even more abhorrent stuff like charlatan royals, monarchy leeches, or feckless grifters. It was an absolute riotous gauntlet rapidly descending into whispers of physical confrontation had event security not swooped in. While similar intense backlash had been gradually ratcheting up across veteran and military family spheres throughout the Sussexes' perpetual conflagrations with Buckingham Palace over the past 3 years, nothing could have prepared palace staffers or games organizers for the outright mutiny that spontaneously erupted the moment Harry and Meghan arrived in Berlin. According to sources deeply embedded in palace operations, the couple had actively petitioned King Charles and the new Prince of Wales to be involved in this year's event alongside other royals, foolishly underestimating how much permanent damage their relentless character assassinations had wrought across cherished veteran communities. Those of us who've maintained working bonds with the Invictus Games movement and soldier families could see this freight train of fury barreling down the tracks from a mile away, confided Palace Communications advisor Bradley Thiessen. The day Harry shamefully abdicated all familial obligations to instead willfully boil the private matters of the crown down to money-grubbing media spectacles for his own personal glorification was the day he spat in the face of every single brother and sister who took the same oath of honor he once claimed to value most. According to Berlin police reports, tensions began rapidly escalating from mere jeers into physical confrontations almost immediately once the booing reached fever pitch. Several former U.S. military personnel were forcibly restrained by private security details after rushing the family entrance line while shouting threats and profanity at Markle specifically, still bitter about the notorious TV interview where she effectively equated minor palace confrontations with military spouses' life-or-death service sacrifices. But the harshest verbal lashings seemed to be reserved for Harry, whose widely publicized ghost-written memoir and various aired grievance interviews have long been interpreted across Allied veteran circles as the ultimate betrayals of the sisterhood and unbreakable codes of loyalty meant to transcend royal family squabbles. How dare you show your treasonous face around these hallowed grounds yet again, you sniveling petulant worm. Leave now or face the wrath of real soldiers who sacrificed everything, you ginger-haired leech. You're a disgrace to the uniform and every man who ever died helping your pathetic self find purpose. Such was just a sampling of the torrent of thunderous vitriolic epithets roaring down upon Harry from former soldiers during the frenzied confrontation, many choking past traumatized tears while condemning the Duke's permanent transgressions. Even wheelchair-bound former IDF and Gurkha combat veterans were clearly apoplectic well past respectability while unloading years of pent-up royal family hostilities upon their ceremonial co-founder. I'd fought alongside these brave souls willingly sacrificing life and limb upholding your family's own security doctrines, only to eventually have their dignity spat upon in broad view by your blithering, self-titled truth mockeries, barked retired U.S. Master Sergeant Stephen Brecker, whose non-profit charities had worked extensively on past Invictus Games initiatives. We proudly wore uniforms swearing allegiance to that crown while waging war halfway across the world, keeping your sniveling wife safely tucking under its protections to one day publicly scorn us for following blindly ordained protocol. As opening ceremony introductions began, the surreal royal protests only intensified, quickly devolving into near pandemonium threatening to derail the entire internationally televised competition. German police officials were forced to implement emergency riot protocols usually reserved for anarchist street skirmishes once traditional security details proved overwhelmed. And everywhere the embattled Sussexes re-emerged from trying to find sanctuary, the aggrieved masses only rained more thunderous condemnations of betrayal down upon them. For years we groveled to get these whinging embarrassments on board so real soldiers and family members could finally experience closure and camaraderie at these games, lamented Prince Harry's former longtime Royal Military Academy mate, Captain Thomas Wilkins. But just like he trampled our brotherhood wholesale peddling those money-grubbing Montecito memoirs, clearly our entire friendship and his odes to service meant absolutely nothing more than profiteering off the military institutional crown whenever convenient for him. Wilkins, who'd served multiply tours with the SAS elite squadrons during peak Helmand operations, was sadly just another among thousands of uniformed alumni worldwide to vocally repudiate any association between the Games and the Sussexes' personal brand. Virtually every national organization of disabled, wounded, or retired enlistment members across NATO alliances all went public excoriating Harry and Meghan's appearance as detrimental, public mockeries. At some point we have to remain resolute espousing the same ethics, codes, and principles instilled in us from day one as the only true way of life that gives each sacrifice for Harry's crown's divine rights any meaning whatsoever, concluded Brecker, the retired U.S. Master Sergeant. Once you let that wanton charlatan denigrate the nobility of that at the highest levels for cheap buck, to dare tarnish the memories behind every last tomb we were sworn to defend at all costs, is the day you disgrace God himself. As the opening ceremony's solemn processions finally commenced beyond their control, the Sussexes reportedly refused to heed mounting calls to depart, futilely attempting to restore their image by celebrating from secure luxury boxes away from scornful masses. But eyewitness accounts from competitors and staffing athletes indicate the couple spent most of the day one events sheepishly dodging projectiles flung in their direction ranging from plastic bottles to sandwiches to batteries, while prominent dignitaries affiliated with the Games stonewalled meetings or arrivals at their skyboxes. By nightfall, social media footage captured organizers in heated confrontations urging them reconsider attending any more competitions for fear further protests would completely overwhelm Athletic Village security resources. These two simply do not comprehend how thoroughly their mockeries of the crown's sanctities have permanently banished them from any real military peer circles whose sacrifices actually purchased their hollow entitlements, summarized former Canadian Master Corporal Jennifer Schaumburg, who helped spearhead lobbying efforts advocating for the Markles' complete Invictus Games exile. Perhaps Harry'll one day appreciate the finality that royal truth bombs disc.